Welcome to the 2021 Election Vote Candidates Forum hosted by the Schenectady branch of the NAACP. My name is Livonia Mallory and I am your moderator for tonight's evening event. I am and have been the owner of Kikoa LLC, a COVID-19 janitorial cleanup service. We specialize in COVID terminal cleaning, offices, your home, and even your refrigerator. We do the dirty work so you don't have to. I am also host and producer of Reclaiming History, a historical program that explores contemporary issues looking for historical roots. I am also the host and producer of Sunrise Soul, Uplift Your Soul, Uplift Your Life, a contemporary Afrocentric Christian apologetics program. I am glad to be here and I thank the host of this program for inviting me this evening. And now, let's get into it. Okay. So, first, we have the County Legislator District 1, and we have a very special guest with us, Mr. Omar Sterling Mcgill.
Good evening. Thank you, first of all, to the NAACP, Schenectady branch of the NAACP, for hosting this candidates forum and giving us a platform for us to speak to our potential voters and encourage them to participate in this upcoming election process. Also, thank you, Ms. Mallory, for being our moderator this evening, and thank you for Proctor's for allowing us to have this beautiful, beautiful theater and this beautiful stage for tonight's event. My name is Omar Sterling Mcgill, and I am running for Schenectady County Legislator District 1. I was born and raised here in Schenectady, so that makes me a son of this great city of Schenectady. I went to school at St. John's Evangelist School, and then I went to the Albany Academy, graduated from Morehouse College with a BA in Business Administration, and I currently work at the New York State Legislature, where I've been for the past 6 years. I've done some policy work in the Assembly for a few years, and now I'm currently in the Senate as a journal clerk. We're all experiencing a time of unprecedented time of crisis, whether environmental, justice, health, or economic. That's why I think my platform of economic revitalization with a focus on our neighborhoods, meeting our neighborhoods where they're at. You know, there's very, very many unique neighborhoods, specifically in the county, but specifically in District 1. What's needed in Bellevue may not be what's needed in Stockade. What's needed in Goose Hill may not be what's needed in Vale Village. So you want to be able to meet each neighborhood where they're at and speak to the constituents about what they want to see for their neighborhoods as we revitalize the rest of our county. I think downtown's doing great, and I think we need downtown to be great because it is the economic engine of the county, but I do think it's important that we branch out into the rest of our neighborhoods as far as in revitalization. Also, I want to improve our infrastructure with a focus on climate change, That's more so improving our green spaces, increasing our green spaces, making sure that we are doing the best to control our air quality and improve that, because I believe that healthier people lead to a healthier community, which overall leads to a healthier Schenectady County. Transparency and accessibility is a huge thing for me on my platform. I want to be as transparent as possible and accessible as possible to you, the people of Schenectady County, and specifically the people of District 1. I want to make sure that I hear your words, hear your feelings, hear your thoughts. That's why I am committing to town halls. If elected, I'm committing to town halls in each neighborhood every year. I would definitely make myself present every year in each neighborhood and making sure I have a town hall so I can make policy with you and not for you. Also, with that transparency, making sure that people know what county government is able to do for them. There's a difference between city government and county government. Although I do think we need to work together as both governments, we definitely need to distinguish to the people what the county legislature and the county government can do for you. And then education. You know, education is not something in the purview of the county, but I want to make sure that because I have constituents and families who are a part of the Schenectady City School District, that I am at that table helping with those solutions and helping with those processes to make sure that we improve our education system. Because at the end of the day, everybody pretty much wants the same things for their young people. They want them to get a good education and have a good quality of life in a safe environment in that situation. And finally, representation matters. I think representation is very, very important, and I think it's important that people are able to see themselves at the table making those decisions because they can feel more included. And I also think it's important for our young people to see people that look like them at the table. So I think diversity, I think everybody should be included, and I think diversity is really, really important. So I just want to say thank you again for having me, and I'm excited for the questions that we are about to do.
All right, thank you. Our next guest was unable to attend this evening, but he did send a brief statement. His name is Brandon Savage, and this is his statement. Hello, my name is Brandon Savage. I'm running for Schenectady County Legislator District 1. I apologize for not being able to attend tonight's event, as I had a previous engagement scheduled at the same time. I have provided this brief statement. I am a homeowner on the north side, only 500 yards from the house I grew up in, with eight brothers and sisters. I'm a lifelong communicant at St. John's Evangelist Church. I am a student of political science at Siena College. I have worked for Ray Gillen and the Schenectady Metroplex Development Corporation, as well as for the Capital Region Land Bank. I have interned for Congressman Paul Tonko and in the outreach office for the Albany County District Attorney's Office. I also worked for Joe Biden's presidential campaign in 4 different states. My priorities, if elected, are outlined in my 5-point plan, which focuses on improving the quality of life of our neighborhoods using the $88 million in federal money we are receiving. These 5 political points include revitalizing vacant and abandoned housing, fixing our roads, reducing trash and litter in the streets, and improving trash pickup procedures and increasing staffing for our local law enforcement with funds set aside specifically for community policing initiatives. Finally, we are the only district in the county without a grocery store. I would work with the Metroplex to fund a shovel-ready site and recruit another grocery store in our city, just like the mid-sized cities like Troy and Utica have done. District 1 needs a grocery store, not just community gardens that do nothing to solve food deserts in the winter months. I am a proud independent Democrat running for the Working Families Conservative Party line. I hope I can earn your support. Thank you to the NAACP and the Open Stage Media for hosting tonight's forum and giving candidates a chance to share their message with the residents. Okay. All right. Now let's get into just a few questions. The first question for Mr. Omar Mcgill is going to be, what are your views on consolidation of services between the city and the county? Please explain.
Yes. I think that collaborative government is very, very important when you're talking about local municipalities. I think working together with the city to consolidate services in ways that will help benefit both county and city government, but more specifically benefit the people of the city and the county is very, very important. Where we can do that, I think it's important that we evaluate those instances and making sure that it's beneficial for everybody involved, and more so beneficial for the people of Schenectady, because the people are the main thing. We've seen it work in other counties as well, so I think it's important to also see what other counties have been doing and other local municipalities have been doing, and to see if there's anything that we can mirror to do the same, where we can save money and also try to make sure that we're doing the best bet that we can for the people of Schenectady.
Okay, thank you. Next question. What are your priorities for allocating the ARPA funding that the county has received from the state and federal government?
Definitely. I think it's important that we look at how far we've come since the pandemic. I think it's important that we use those funds to help recoup and recover people who have been hit hard, whether that be small businesses and other entities that were hit hard by the pandemic. I also think it's important that we take some of that funding and use it to revitalize some of our neighborhoods. Again, I said economic revitalization is a part of my platform, so I think it's important that In some instances, there are blighted properties that we need to take care of, but there's other instances in other neighborhoods, they're not suffering from blighted properties. So let's see what are some things that they may be able, that they will in their neighborhoods, and see if we can use that money and use it for the best as we can, and spread it out. But I definitely think that, focusing on trying to help people recoup and also set us up, use that money to set us up just in case another pandemic comes. We have to learn from what we have gone through and make sure that we are setting ourselves up so just in case something else happens, we are able to withstand. Schenectady is resilient. The people of Schenectady are resilient, and they've been resilient. So let's make sure we do right by them and use this money for the good of them.
Okay, thank you. Next question. What do you think is the most important in terms of supporting the city's neighborhoods? Let me read that again. What do you think is most important in terms of supporting the city's neighborhoods?
What I think is most important is making sure that we meet each neighborhood where they're at. My grandmother's house is in Vale Village, and what's needed in Vale Village is not the same as what's needed in Goose Hill. What's needed in the Stockade is not necessarily what's needed in Bellevue. So I think it's important that our first step needs to be, let's go into these neighborhoods and talk to the people that actually live in these neighborhoods and see what their quality of life is like. What would they like to improve on as they live in these communities? Because again, it's their community, it's their neighborhood. So we need to make sure that what we're doing is something that they would like to see. So I think it's important that we get out, that we talk, whether it be through town halls, whether it be through surveys, we get as much information as we can from the people who actually live in these neighborhoods, and then we gather that information and make decisions with that input of what we need to do to revitalize the neighborhoods. Like I said in the beginning, downtown has been revitalized and looks great, but it is the economic engine of the city, so of the county, so we want to make sure that's good. But the rest of our neighborhoods are suffering, so we want to continue some of the progress that the county has already been making and moving into the neighborhoods, because they have been starting to revitalize certain corridors. But I think we need to take it to the next step and make sure that we do it to as many neighborhoods as we possibly can until we get to all of them.
Okay. Thank you. Do you support lowering the citywide speed limit to 25 miles an hour? Why or why not?
I definitely think it's important that we do lower the speed limit. I think that a lot of people, especially in our neighborhoods with children who play, I think it's very, very dangerous. Some of the speeding that I see in different neighborhoods, whether that be in the Stockade where I currently live, definitely where my grandmother's house has been. She's been for 55 years in Vale Village. People speed through there all the time, and we have a lot of children in that neighborhood. So I think it's important that for the safety of our young people and for the safety of people in general, that it is that we do lower that speed limit, or we do something to make sure that we control the speed limit, whether that's more stop signs or any other mechanism that we can do to lower the speed limit.
All right.
Would be great.
Thank you. Last question. No? Well, we are out of time, so do you have any closing remarks?
Yes, I want to say thank you again to the NAACP and to you, Ms. Mallory, for hosting this event. I want to say that I am the endorsed Democratic candidate, and you will find me on row A in this upcoming election. Early voting starts tomorrow and goes through the 31st. There are times and information on my website at omarforschenectady.com. There you can find more information about me. You can find my platform, my in-depth platform, where you can find out all the details, and also there you can message me about anything that you may want to see. I feel like my life has led me to this moment, from starting my own nonprofit and working with young people to my experience at the legislature. And if elected, I can hit the ground running and be able to govern in a way with some experience. Again, I always have to lean on the people that have come before me and work with the great team that's already at the county legislature now. But I do think that with my experience at the state legislature, my experience in the community, my ties to the community, that my heart would be in this work, and I would be the best bet for the Schenectady County Legislator District 1 position. So I ask that you vote for me, Omar Sterling Mcgill, row A, and I thank you for this time. Thank you for this time.
Thank you. Election Vote Candidates Forum here at Proctor's Theater, sponsored by the Schenectady branch of the NAACP. We have a very great, distinguished panel with us this evening. Now, let me just start with our first guest, John Motoviran.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is John Motoviran, currently City Council member and currently the President of the Schenectady City Council. First, I would like to thank the NAACP for hosting this forum, so the candidates who are running for re-election and election this year can be able to speak to the voter directly and to address their platform and to answer questions from concerned residents. With regards to my platform, and I will state, I would like to continue to work on building Schenectady for the future generation by renewing our infrastructure, supporting neighborhood revitalization, supporting investment opportunity, new housing, jobs, and at the same time expand our tax base to ease the burden on taxpayer. I will continue to work tirelessly with our partners in the county and the school district to create and attract more high-paying jobs for our residents. We need to look for ways to partner with the county and the school district on how we can work together as we discuss the stimulus funding, better known as Arpa funding. I will continue to support our first responder and are dedicated to building on the police reform and reinvention platform. As always, public safety is a topic of high priority. My focus is to make sure our law enforcement has the resource needed so that they can provide a service to our residents. My goal is to continue to hold the line on taxes, to look at how we can lower taxes in the years to come, and to have a budget that reflects the need of our community, making sure that a vital service remain funded to include staffing in all departments in the city of Schenectady, investing in our neighborhood and to expand our tax base, remove blighted properties, increase home ownership, and increase property value are some of the things I will focus on in the coming years when I'm re-elected to the Schenectady City Council. Thank you.
Up next, we have Marian Porterfield.
Good evening, and I want to also thank the NAACP for hosting this forum and giving us an opportunity to speak to our constituents. My name is Marian Porterfield, and I've been a council member since 2012. In this upcoming election, I've been endorsed by the Democratic and the Working Families Party. I always like to start to talk a little bit about what brought me to the council. As I said, I actually got on the council in 2012, but prior to that, I spent a lot of time going to council meetings, voicing the concerns of the community, and trying to kind of be that liaison that helped people to better understand how government worked, but also to have government hear the voice of the people as well. And from that experience, I did not feel that this community was being heard enough. So when the opportunity presented itself, I ran for city council and was successful, and I've been there ever since. And even in being on the council, I have not stopped being that person who continually listens to the community. I attend community events on a regular basis, and not just during the times when I'm running for office, because I think it's important, if you want to represent people, you must know what they want represented. Since being on the council, I just want to mention a couple of things. When I first got on the council, the affirmative action office was not operating, and along with my colleagues, I was successful to bring that back, and currently we have an affirmative action officer who's doing fabulous work, making sure the MWBEs get certified, get work in the community, and helping them develop their businesses so that small businesses can also participate in what's going on in the rebuilding of Schenectady. In addition to that, I really support affordable housing, and not just in some neighborhoods, in all neighborhoods, to make sure that people have adequate housing and affordable housing so that they and their families can live comfortably. Those things are important if we want to grow our city and make sure that everyone participates as we build and grow. As I think about the things that are important to me, I just want to mention three things that I think are extremely important. One of those is public safety. So to ensure that our community is safe, that our children are safe, that everyone is safe, and that we work together to build a rapport between our police department and our community, which sometimes has difficulty, but I see that we're doing better. We have the police reform and reinvention where the community came together. So those are the kind of steps that we're taking towards that public safety, and I was really happy to be a part of that. Also, quality of life. And that just doesn't mean trash. It also means taxes. People want to lower their taxes. We've been able to hold the line on the taxes for the past 5 years. It also includes making sure the aesthetics of our city is good. So we do have some cleaning up to do, quite frankly, because litter is a problem I hear about all the time when I go to the various meetings. We need improvements in our sidewalks and our roads. Those are all quality of life issues, quite frankly, on people's day-to-day. In addition to that, and probably one of the most important things, is making sure that we're investing in our youth so that we can develop them, because they are our leaders of tomorrow. And actually, some people say they're our leaders of today. So it's important that we take the time to invest in them, to give them opportunities to do things that are not, so it keeps them from being on the street and using their idle time in ways that are detrimental to themselves and to the community. So investing in our parks, investing in our youth, and making sure. And finally, I just would like to say, before my time is up, what I think strengthens the council is diversity of skills, diversity of age, thought, and neighborhoods. And the team that I'm running with presents all of those things, because it's important as leaders that in any organization that we have a succession plan. And that's what we're doing now, creating succession plans to make sure going forward that we have no lapse in leadership, and we continue to do that. So I'm really proud to, again, to run for City Council and to continue the work that I've been able to do along with my colleagues, and hopefully along with the new people that will be joining our team.
Thank you, Ms. Porterfield. Thank you so much. Damani Farley is next.
Hi. Okay, so first off, I'd like to say thank you to the NAACP, as well as everyone who is at home, all the viewers. I'm honored and grateful to be here before you today. And I think for me, we talk to people a lot of times, and people want to know like our platform and what are the issues, what are the things that speak to us, and how will we represent the city of Schenectady while in office. And I guess for me, the easiest way to express that is really through a story, something that happened with me a long time ago. I think that the things that call us to leadership are compelling reasons, and this story is definitely constitutes that for me. Years ago, I ran a youth program for the county of Schenectady, where we served youth from Schenectady and the surrounding towns and areas. It was right here on Craig Street in the heart of Hamilton Hill in Schenectady, and we were working with at-risk young men, right? So they referred to them at-risk youth, however, we refer to them as our opportunity youth. And one young man in particular in our program, he used to eat candy all the time and eat sunflower seeds and candy all the time, every day. And he would constantly end up throwing his wrapper on the bus, in front of the Boys and Girls Club, or in the office, wherever he was at. You knew where he was at because you just had to look on the floor and you would see his trash behind him. He was just always throwing them constantly. Every day we have to tell him, pick up your wrapper, pick up your wrapper. And as I said, we served youth outside of the city of Schenectady too, that were in the county of Schenectady. And one day we went to go pick up a new youth for a program. So as we go to this youth's house, I'm having everyone get out of the van so we can go introduce ourselves to him and his family. This young man who's constantly throwing his trash all over the place, when we were leaving this family's house, he threw his wrapper on the floor. And before I could get a word out of my mouth, or my coworker at the time, he went and grabbed the paper. He grabbed the wrapper and picked it up and put it in his pocket. And I thought to myself, like, interesting. So we got in the van, and the first thing I asked him, I said, we have to tell you 10 and 15 times a day, why do you, to pick up your trash? Why did you immediately pick up your wrapper? And he looked at me plain in my face and said, well, this doesn't look like the type of neighborhood that you could throw trash in. And to me, that spoke to something that is significant. That is the setting conditions in which certain behaviors or certain things occur. That young man was able to, in that moment, identify that this is a place he's never been. But the place that he lives in, the place he calls home, he would throw that trash on the floor. But the minute he was taken out of his home, he was responsible enough to pick up his trash. And it was because he said when he looked around, it didn't seem like the type of place that you could throw trash. These speak to the setting conditions in which people make decisions. And I think as a leader, it's super important for us that we don't try to just, out here try to fix the people, but we create the setting conditions in which people are the best version of themselves. And that right there showed that that young man was able to correct his behavior without any prompt from us when he was in the proper setting conditions. And I think that Schenectady is a place where we really need to have those setting conditions. To fast forward the story a little later, that same young man was honored by Schenectady City Council for leading a neighborhood cleanup. Right now, he is a homeowner in Schenectady, where he raises his family and is a contributing member of our city here. And I think that, that really embodies the change and the transformation that I hope to assist with serving on the city council. It's about the setting conditions. We need to deal with the litter. We need to deal with opportunities for youth. We need to deal with safe communities and stabilize our neighborhoods through home ownership, right? We need owner occupancy here in the city of Schenectady. And that's what I am determined to make sure that we facilitate as leadership.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We also had 3 other guests on the panel. Brendan Nally was invited. Unfortunately, he was not able to provide us with a statement. And we also have Kevin Hammer and Karen ZW. They provided a joint statement. I will read that now. We believe that this is a great city with many wonderful, hardworking people who deserve the absolute best from their local government. The people of this city deserve a government that will work for them and not for themselves. They deserve a local government that believes in responsibility, transparency, and accountability. Together, Kevin and I are that team. There are many issues that affect citizens in every neighborhood and walk of life, and every people in this city do not care if the solution comes from someone who is on the left or the right. All people want is what makes sense. First and foremost, we want to work with our county government to find ways that will increase the owner-occupied properties in every neighborhood in Schenectady. It is known that the exorbitant tax rate, poor conditions of our roads and sidewalks, lack of cleanliness in our neighborhoods, consistent failure in effective and timely plowing, lack of safety in our schools are only some of the things that act as deterrents for many potential homeowners. This needs to be addressed with real common sense solutions. Second, we believe it is vital to attract more small businesses to come to Schenectady instead of maintaining the roadblocks that drive many small businesses away. Small businesses and private property owners are the heartbeat of a thriving economy. We want to work with our communities to help make this happen. Lastly, we strongly believe in our responsibility to protect our citizens, which means we need a police force that is adequately staffed, properly equipped to do their job safely and effectively. Currently, there are approximately 50 patrolmen for the city with a population of 66,000 people. Our police department is grossly understaffed. Defunding or reallocating funds from the police department is the very antithesis of ensuring the safety of our neighborhoods and direct affront to those who are selfishly placing their lives on the line every day. We both want to thank the NAACP and each and every citizen in Schenectady who are in the attendance at this evening's event for your time and for your consideration. And the vote is November 2nd. Okay.
Karen.
Oh, did I miss someone?
That was Vivian and Kevin.
Oh yeah, that was Vivian and
I'm
Kevin's
sorry.
statement.
That was Vivian Parson and Kevin Hammer. I apologize. And I still have one more. Now I've got Kevin ZW. Karen. I'm going to call her Kevin. Karen ZW. Karen ZW. Also running for the city council 4 years. Okay, here we go. I am sorry that I am unable to be there this evening due to a prior community dinner engagement. I would like to tell you a little about myself. I grew up in Colony, and after graduating from college and getting married, I moved to Northern Virginia, just outside Washington, D.C. This is when I started my career in banking at the First American Bank of Washington, D.C. As a single mom, I had an opportunity to return home and purchase a house in Schenectady in the Woodlawn area. I chose to live in Schenectady, and both of my children went to Page Elementary, Central Park Middle, and graduated from Schenectady High. They received a wonderful education, and I had a wonderful childhood growing up in Schenectady. As my banking career continues, I worked hard and was able to get promoted and move into leadership roles, eventually becoming Senior Vice President, managing team of commercial leaders throughout New York State. During my tenure at KeyBank, I was instrumental in starting a local chapter of the Women's Presidential Organization. The WPO helps to advance and influence women in business and increasing visibility of women presidents on local and national, international levels. I also had opportunity to assist in the support of the MWBE businesses, which was gratifying it's gratifying to see in the small, locally owned businesses grow and prosper. While I love banking and enjoyed working with business owners, I had an opportunity to become a commercial real estate professional 7 years ago. So I changed careers and have enjoyed helping business owners buy, lease, and sell property around the capital region. In addition to my career, I have held numerous board positions for several nonprofits and committees. I have helped with fundraising and volunteering for many years, such as the Girl Scouts of Schenectady, the Chamber, Downtown Schenectady Improvement Corporation, MISI, Women's Against MS, Capital Region Chamber, and the Northern Rivers, just to name a few. As a result, I have a unique background which I believe adds value to the city council position. My banking background, along with my real estate experience, has been very beneficial to the city. As a commercial leader, we analyze financial statements. I have done municipal bonding, tax anticipation, bond anticipation notes, revenue anticipation notes from the banking side. I have built and maintained budgets for my department. With commercial real estate, and I think that's all the time I have for reading her statement. Okay, are you all ready?
We are ready.
You're ready?
Yes, we are.
I'm ready for some questions. Okay, first question is going to be for John Motiverin. I'm going to say that name right.
You're getting it correct.
What do you think are the three most important issues facing Schenectady?
The three most important issues: taxes, public safety, and infrastructure. All three items we are, as a body of the City Council, along with the mayor, are addressing. We're addressing high taxes. Over the period of 5 years, we were able to lower taxes by 8.17%. This year, into next year, there will be no tax increase. We're holding a line on taxes in our budget that we'll approve next Monday. And that is something that is dear to us, with property taxes. Public safety in terms of law enforcement. We are providing the resource necessary to the police department so they can carry out the function needed so that they can safeguard our city. We are all time on the council, my colleagues, myself, we are fully supportive of the police department, but we expect them to provide the service needed to our community so that our community can be safe. In terms of infrastructure, we have seen over the years that City Council, the mayor, we've allocated money towards renewable infrastructure, and that is something we're going to continue to do over the years to come.
All right, thank you so much. Marian, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. What are the three selling points of Schenectady?
Well, Great question. First of all, I think one of the selling points of Schenectady, even though it's not something we did, we have great colleges here. We have Union College. We have Schenectady County Community College, where people can graduate from high school here, stay home. It's a wonderful community college. And so I think those are selling points. It brings people into the city from other places. And I can say that Union College and the city have what's called a town and gown relationship. So I think that's one of the major selling points of our community. And also home ownership. We've sold a lot of homes this year, and home ownership, as has been said, stabilizes communities. So we have an opportunity for people to buy homes, and if a person is in a position where they're economically, they may not have the opportunity to first buy a home, there's a first-time home buyers program. So those things are available for individuals to take advantage of through our city. And I think there's a lot of selling points, so I have to choose this last one. So I think part of it is our parks. We have fabulous parks. We've done Central Park is the crown jewel. We have the Rose Garden there. We have Music Haven there. So there's a lot of place for entertainment. And then we have neighborhood parks as well, where people can take their children. And we've invested a lot of money in those parks over the years, and we're beginning to even invest more over the years. So
you're getting that 1 minute thing.
Yeah, I'm getting that 1 minute. So I think those are I think there are many things, but I think those are three of the major things. And I just also want to add, I think when you have people in government who are opening to listen and to bring forth ideas from the community, I also think so I'm just going to throw that last one in there. I think that's important, and I think that we have that, and seeing that in candidates that are currently running.
All right, thank you. Mr. Damani.
Yes.
How do you view the council's role in working with city government staff?
So I think that the council is in a very unique position because our city city government staff are our city residents, right? So I think that as the council continues to kind of make plans with people and not for people, I think that includes our staff here in the city. We have to make sure, when I think about other municipalities, I know that growing up, I remember people say things like, get a good government job, get a good county job, or get a good city job. And that represented being gainfully employed with some level of insurance and some stability for your family. And I think that the city, as the council, we have to, as a governing body, ensure that we are paying a competitive wage as is compared to the surrounding towns and cities, and offering a competitive benefit package that not only attracts people to want to enter into our city jobs, but keeps them there, right? And some of our best talent doesn't get taken away by other towns and cities around because they recognize the strength of the people of our city. So,
all right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
John, you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Always ready.
Do you support the recommendations of Police Reform Collaborative?
Yes, I do. I was very, very much involved in the police reform and reinvention. I attend almost all the meetings that I could have attended, and very supportive of it. It is something that the community wanted. It is something that the police wanted. It is something that the city council and the mayor wanted. The changes that we see in the police reform is very, very good for our community. We just need to work together. We need to work as a community with government official, and us. We're committed to work together so that we can build bridges, so that the community feel more involved and they're part of the discussion, so that we move forward in a way, that a collaborative way within the police, city council, the mayor. And it's very important that we bring all these groups to the table and work together. It's nothing better than working together that we can build bridges and strengthen our relationship with the community and our police department. It is something that I am committed to help the police department and work with my colleagues on the city council and the mayor as we move forward. How do we address these concerns, and how do we address them, and at the same time we have an open dialogue and people feel more committed, trust the police department, and we can work together. I think that it's opportunity is there for us to work together.
Thank you, John.
I'm part of that.
Thank you, John. Marian,
Yes.
do you support the Police Reform Collaborative? And what other recommendations would you make to the police department?
So I also was a part of the Police Reform Collaborative, as were many city residents, not just people who were elected. So I support the idea of what we did. I think that we made some really good progress. And I appreciate the fact that there was community involvement in that process. And with the recommendations that I would, so let me just be clear that I felt that we met the spirit of that, but we met the letter of that, but not necessarily the spirit of that. I felt like we could have gone a little bit further in terms of what we could do in terms of that police collaborative. One of the things that we talked about extensively was use of force, because that is something that we had been talking about within the community. I think we could have been done better in that area, in terms of recommendations of what we could do. And in addition to that, I would like to see more about making sure we create the level of diversity in our community so that our police force reflects the people that it serves by creating a cadet training class at middle school perhaps, because we know that we sometimes children get a certain age, they're no longer interested in law enforcement. So if we can begin that there, and to make sure that, and the parts of it I really thought were great was we say that we're going to work on community collaborative, and then it's not going to end with just that document being submitted, but that we will continue and it'll be an ongoing dialogue. So, I think we did some great work, and I still feel there's still work there to be done as well.
All right. Damani, do you support the Police Reform Collaborative, and any recommendations you would make?
So yeah, I absolutely support the Reform Collaborative, and I guess to me, the recommendation is that. My position is rather unique on this because I feel like the world is starting to wake up, and to see things that have been a reality for a certain segment of our population for as long as I can remember and long before that. So, I've been someone who's been working, doing things like, having kind of restorative circles with officers and community members. I've gone down and spoke to the cadets coming into the community. And these are all things that happened kind of before the tragic murder of George Floyd and kind of the uprising that you saw across the world. So this isn't not, I guess my recommendation would be that this isn't something that we can, something that we do. We have to embody that, and this has to be the way we operate. This has to be who we are. The first time that you engage a police officer should not be in the midst of crisis. Mm-hmm. If you expect to have any sort of communication and a strong relationship with someone, in the midst of crisis is not the place to achieve that. I mean, even in our own homes, and my wife will tell you that when things are going haywire, that's not always our best moments, right? We have to cut it, right? So I think the same is true for our officers in the community. I mean, I have a very high expectation for anyone who is wearing a badge in our community. I think we all should. So I think that we need to make sure that we are resourcing our community and officers everything they need to do their job, as well as the support and what's necessary to make sure that we're increasing protective factors around the community. And those all just cannot lie inside the police department. I think that there is a community, we need to have some shared accountability for what happens in the streets of Schenectady.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Marian, are you ready?
I am.
What are your priorities for allocating the $53 million in ARPA funding that Schenectady is receiving from the federal government?
So, for the American Rescue Plan funds, and Schenectady is getting the $53 million. We've received about a little bit over $26 million so far, and the rest will come next year. In terms of priorities, there's some things that are very clear in what the government says how you can and cannot spending. So we know that certain things we can't do, and so I, at this point in time, don't want to put forward my priorities, because what we've done is we've gone around to the various neighborhoods and we've asked people, what do you think should happen? So one of the priorities, I guess I could say, is listening to the community and saying, what do you think we should do with this funding? Because we have to keep in mind, this is a one-time event. We will not, according to how things are right now, be getting this again. So the priorities are attending those meetings, which I've attended most of them, hearing what people have to say, and making sure as we make the decisions on how we spend it, that those same community members or some representative of the community is there at the table as we review the applications and say, this works here, and to make sure that all parts of Schenectady, every single neighborhood, in some way benefits from that. Now, there's some basic things that I know I feel do need to be done. We need to make sure that our roads are paved. We need to make sure that the blight that is handled, that is currently in our city, is taken care of. That's huge because, again, that's another quality of life thing. So the ways that we can spend the money, funding according to that, to the guidelines, are my priorities, and also to make sure that we are listening to the priorities of our residents to say, this is what we need to see, this is what we'd like to see, this would make our life in Schenectady that much better.
All right. Thank you. John, same question. What are your priorities for allocating the $53 million in ARPA funding that Schenectady is going to be receiving from the federal government?
Thank you. My top priority is listening to the community, listen to their needs. We have done that with several meetings across the several neighborhoods, and they've addressed their concerns. It is with us now to sit as a body with the mayor and to come up with the priorities or what is needed based on these meetings. And I think in the next couple of weeks we will address that as a body and come up with ideas of where we're going to spend this $26.4 million that we received earlier this year. And next year, May, we'll receive the additional $26.4 million. We have been across all the meetings, and some of the things that being addressed is we talk about youth, jobs, we talk about seniors, minor repairs to buildings because they are on fixed incomes. We talk about infrastructure, streets and sidewalks, and people also talk about mental health. Those are some of the things that we as a body need to address and allocate funding from Arpa to address these concerns. As my colleague says, it's a one-time shot. $56 million, we need to use it wisely where the benefit is within the community as we address it and make sure that the people who have concerns is addressed and money is spent wisely. We also, in our budget this year, we were able to allocate some money with regards to staffing. And I can probably say that we're going to fill, hopefully next year in the budget, to fill 47 positions. Most of that are being funded through ARPA. So I want to say that something has started, but the majority of the money is there. We want to hear from the community. We did that. We're going to address it. And we're going to move forward in spending the money towards the community needs. And that is one of my goals. I have went public and called on that with regards to meeting with our neighborhoods. And I'm proud I did that. And the mayor set up these meetings, and we were able to address all these concerns across this entire city. So I want to continue focus on that, how we move forward, and how we address all these concerns as a body together.
Thank you. Mr. Damani, same question. What are your priorities for $53 million of ARP? Is it ARP money?
ARPA.
ARPA?
ARPA money.
American Rescue.
ARPA.
Act.
ARPA's got money. How do you
Okay.
want to spend it?
Okay. So I think that's it. That's the answer. So the answer is really we're going to listen to the people. I've been to all the neighborhood association meetings where we've been listening to residents' concerns and where their priorities lie. But so I think that the people will tell us what to spend the money on. I think that what we really need to be really intentional about is how we spend this money, right? And I think that that we have to be really wise in the way that we collaborate with our city school district, who has some money, and the county, who has some money coming in. So we want to make sure that we collaborate and see where we can, work together to get more benefit for our buck, if you will. And the other or the other how, rather, is let's make sure that when we have people and companies, coming in to do maybe some of the work or take care of some of the issues that the community is asking to be handled, that they are companies that are prioritizing people that live here in the city. Something that really, quite frankly, I'm just going to tell you, drives me crazy. I work a lot with our youth and young adults, and I see them getting on the bus and taking 2 transfers to go someplace to make, $10 an hour, while they're walking past on the way to the bus stop, people that don't live in the city of Schenectady gainfully employed on a work crew making, $40, $50 an hour. Now, how do we, so it's not just about what we do, it's really important that it's how we do it. How do we leverage this one-time money, make sure that the money that we are investing in the community stays in the community, and, that will lend itself to kind of those overarching goals of a safe, more stable community.
All right, thank you. I think our last question is coming up.
Okay.
Maybe? Let's see. Damani, you ready? I'm going to let you go for this one first.
Okay, yeah, I'm ready.
All council members are currently elected on an at-large basis. Do you think there should be some district representation on the council?
District representation on the council. So I want to make sure I understand the question correctly. Is the question kind of saying that maybe people on the council should have certain neighborhoods that they're prioritizing or certain districts that they focus on?
That's a good way to look at it.
Okay. So I guess where I would say that I think there's pros and cons of both of that. I think that I like the fact that as a council we serve at large. I think it's important that we do that because we need to be in a position where we are taking responsibility for what happens in every corner of our city. I think that the neighborhood associations who we have to work closely with in order they can represent the specific interests of an area in the city, but it would just be a little concerning to me to think that, this council member or that one represents this area, because what that can cause is really inequitable distribution of funds and resources, where what we really want to do is focus on uplifting us as a whole. And I think that for those more specific districts and areas, we really have to rely on the people that live in that neighborhood. And if you are representing the people, you will know the specific concerns of the neighborhood, because they will see you more often than election time asking for a vote.
Okay, thank you. John, all council members are currently elected on an at-large basis. Do you think there should be some district representation on the council?
Thank you. This is my 8 years on the council, and I am proud to serve the entire Schenectady. I think that it's a good thing that we are able to serve the entire Schenectady rather than a specific neighborhood. I like the idea of at-large city council so that we get to address concerns not only in a specific district, but all the neighborhoods throughout the city. It's very important that we do that as council, and I will continue to advocate that we be at large so that we can address everybody's concern throughout the city and not one specific neighborhood.
Interesting. Marian, same question.
Okay, so I have a different viewpoint on that, having been on the council for 9 years. I think we should, first of all, it may be something we need to put a referendum that we could put on a city count and on when we're going to vote, as there are referendums on there currently. And also look at our surrounding communities, because there have been times when the majority of the council lived in one neighborhood. And it doesn't mean they only represented that neighborhood. But what I always like to say is how you see it depends on where you sit. So if you go home every night to a certain neighborhood, your neighbors see you, they get to interact with you, and perhaps that doesn't happen all the time. So I think that we would benefit from a hybrid, that we could have some at-large people, as some of the communities around here do, and also some people who are specifically from certain neighborhoods. Because we are elected at large, anybody from any community could run, but sometimes it doesn't happen that every community is represented. And currently, where we are right now, there's several neighborhoods that don't have a person who lives in that particular neighborhood. So I think there's pros and cons to both, whether we're all at large or whether we represent neighborhoods. But for myself, I think having a hybrid to that would probably be beneficial overall, based on my experience as being a council member. And just to be clear, there was a time when the city of Schenectady was represented by districts in the city council. Currently, the county is run by districts. So I think there's an opportunity there for a conversation, and again, to have a referendum, to hear from the community on how they think that we could best represent them.
I don't know if I get a follow-up question to a question. I don't. Okay, so I'm going to go on to my next question. I think we're wrapping up. So I guess now we'll have closing statements from every member. Let's start with John.
Thank you. I would like to thank our moderator and the NAACP for hosting this forum, giving us an opportunity to highlight to the voter our platform and to answer the many questions this evening. I am proud to have the endorsement from the Democrat and Conservative Party. This year, I am running with a team who have won the primary and choose to work together as a team. Myself, John Mudaviran, Marian Porterfield, Damani Farley, and Carl Williams. We are running as a slate because we won the Democratic primary, and we all choose to work together as a slate. I am proud of this team. I cannot ask for a better team to be on the City Council, to represent the people of Schenectady, to join myself and Miriam and the others so that we can move this city forward in a positive direction. There are many obstacles ahead of us, but at the end of the day, we are reaching the finish point with the same goal, the same aspiration. I want to encourage the voter out there to please look at our platform, look at our records, look at my records, and I ask for your support as we move forward into the next 4 years. You need support on the City Council for people who are there to represent your value, your concerns, and I am that person. I just want to remind voters that the early voting starts tomorrow, September the 23rd, through Sunday, October 23rd to October 31st. And Tuesday, November the 2nd, polls are open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. I encourage you to please come out and vote. This is a very, very important election. Thank you very much.
All right. Ms. Porterfield.
Thank you. So again, I'd like to thank the Schenectady NAACP for hosting this and for Proctors for allowing us to be guests in this space. I'd like to thank you, Ms. Mallory, for serving as our moderator, and also for the candidates who came today to make their voices heard. I would just like to, frankly, first and foremost, ask for your support. I feel that what I bring to the council has been beneficial, and I pledge to you that I will continue to listen, to make the people's voices the priority, to have community participation in our government. I think that's extremely important. And I want to encourage people to really look at this money that we're spending, this $53 million. That's a lot of money. And to make sure that you come out and you make your voice heard and contact us, reach out to us. I'm currently a city council member. My phone number and email address can be found on the city website. Please reach out and ask me any questions, give your input. I'll make sure that it gets moved forward. And also, I just want to thank also the Democratic and the Working Families Party for endorsing me. And I also want to thank the team that I am running with as well. It's a wonderful team. I'm so happy to be able to be running with some younger people as we develop our succession plan to move forward and to bring new ideas and innovation to the City Council. I feel like you've heard some of that today from Mr. Farley. You'll be hearing that again from one of our other team members, Carl Williams. So together we can lift Schenectady, and as we climb, we can lift young people and get them to be interested and see that their government looks like them and that they have the opportunity to also serve in this capacity or even maybe beyond. So again, I want to say thank you for this opportunity, and I look forward to serving another 4 years, and I ask for your support on November 2nd or during the early voting period if you choose. Thank you.
Mr. Damani Farley.
Okay, so I want to echo my colleagues here in saying thank you to the NAACP, and thank you as well for serving as our moderator. I guess in closing for me, I just want to say that I don't just want your support to go to the polls and vote for me. I want to be really honest with you and say that we have work to do as a community, and I know I believe in the community here. I am a Schenectady guy, and I have an extraordinary faith in the people that live here. And I will be not only asking for your vote, but I'll be asking for your ideas. I think we are a city of great tradition, but we cannot allow our tradition to stifle our innovation. I mean, Schenectady at one point was a world leader, not just a national, a world leader in innovation and technology. And we need to return that spirit. And we need our young people to understand that when they're in this city, they are in a city with a great and strong world recognizable legacy. And as a community, to my point earlier, we have to make sure that we are building the setting conditions for people to thrive and live here. And we want to make sure that when somebody comes to Schenectady, whether it's to open a business, they want to stay here. They want to put roots down here. And that is what will maintain and sustain our culture of a loving, caring, safe environment for all. So I don't just need you to come vote. I do need you to come vote. Please vote and bring a friend too, right? Let's just be real about that. But we're in this for the long haul. I'm not just looking for change. I'm looking for transformation. I want us to return we'll reach a point that where we can't return to the point that we're at now. I think that we are a great city, but we're not afraid of better. We are a city that needs to operate in purpose and not just power. We need to distribute and allocate funds in an equitable manner that uplifts us all. So these are not just easy things, and these aren't things that are the most popular opinions, but I think that there's a level of authenticity that is needed, and that's what I represent. So I'm here to make decisions with you, not for you, and I promise I won't always agree with you, but you'll never have to guess where I stand, and I will always represent you to the best of my ability, period.
Thank you, candidates.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the 2021 Election Vote Candidates Forum. My name is Livonia Mallory, and I'm your moderator for tonight's event. This event is hosted by the Schenectady branch of the NAACP. Our first candidate up is Mr. Carl Williams. Please introduce yourself to our listeners.
Good evening. My name is Carl Williams, and before I begin, I would like to thank the NAACP for hosting this forum, in addition to thanking the Democratic Party and also the Working Family Party for endorsing me as a candidate for this special election in the city of Schenectady. Before I begin, I would like to wish my mother a happy birthday today. She is turning 30 for the umpteenth time. And I'd also like to wish my daughter Zariah all the love and support being here tonight. And also I'd like to thank my wife for continuing to faithlessly be here with me as we've made it through this campaign journey together. Growing up in what can only be considered a single-parent household, I understood that my mother's teachings was we were never only a reflection of where we currently were. And with that understanding, I understood the importance of not only understanding why we were where we were, but also preparing myself to circumvent and supersede my current position in life. Since moving back to the city, I've understood the importance of community engagement and being involved in having an active role with local government, which is why 2 years ago, I saw the importance of attending local city council meetings and legislative meetings to understand the frameworks of our local government. Preparing myself well before this opportunity arose, I also saw the importance of continuing my education and receiving my MBA from Clarkson University, downtown Schenectady. I also currently serve as a first lieutenant in the New York Air National Guard, and my current occupation is a practice manager with the Albany Medical Center in a pediatric group. I'm running because we need a diverse understanding of looking at issues that are continuing to be reoccurring throughout the city. As I've walked countlessly throughout the city and met numerous voters and also residents who transient through this amazing city, I've recognized various issues such as quality of life, road maintenance issues, noise ordinances, to name a few, and understood the importance of looking at how these issues are continuing and understanding that a different perspective is needed and necessary. As a member of local government, I understand that it is much more than us as individuals. Although I'm striving to get to this level, I recognize that it is not me who is sitting here in front of you tonight. However, I'm a reflection of all the investments that were made into me, which is why I can confidently sit here and offer my opinion with the utmost sincerity and recognizing that this is not a competition between me and the other individuals that are running in my race. This is just an option, which is why I wholeheartedly support this wide candidates and allowing you as voters to choose who best supports your opinions. This road has truly been an experience that I'll treasure for the rest of my life. And it has also been very tiring, but I can continue on based on the conversations that I have throughout the community and use that as fuel to continue driving me to this finish line. However, November 2nd, for better or worse, is not the end goal. And regardless of this outcome, I understand the importance of continuing to be involved and using my voice to continue driving this city to the future and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Teresa Mccalman.
Yes, good job. Hello, everyone. My name is Teresa Mccalman. I am running for the 2-year open seat for Schenectady City Council. I am a mother, I am an educator, and I am a new grandma. And most of you know me from my mayoral run and from my continued involvement in local and federal politics. I just want to give a little background for those of you who are meeting me for the first time. My family and I settled in Schenectady over 17 years ago after experiencing months of homelessness. In our journey, we went from being homeless to owning a home to suffering the aftereffects of the 2008 housing crisis. But once we were back on our feet, I decided I needed to go back to college. We suffered a lot of setbacks during our homelessness. Every time we took a step forward, it seemed like we were pushed just 500 feet backward. And I needed to figure out why. Why, when we asked for help, we were given walls of no's or forced to jump through so many hoops, almost impossible things. Why was that? Who made the decisions? How come the system works for some but not all? And how can I help to make things better? And how can I lift as I climb? After earning 4 different degrees in less than 5 years, I then worked and volunteered with many elected officials and met with many more to figure out our local and federal government and how elected officials actually worked for us. I started this journey ready to fight, ready to complain, but the experience I have had working with individuals like Senator Breslin of Albany, meeting frequently with assembly members like Assemblymember Santa Barbara, and many other electeds, I have learned to, yes, continue to fight, and many of you know me, but also be hopeful and not just complain, but find solutions. I remain, however, very optimistic for our future. I believe the best is yet to come, and I want to be a part of the solutions that get us there. My strength as an independent allows me to be just that, independent. I answer to you, the citizens of Schenectady, the one who is struggling to make ends meet, the one whose streets have yet to be paved and haven't been paved in years, the one whose taxes have increased and have been forced into the decision of selling their birthplace, the ones who have had to close down their small businesses due to lack of clarity from their government, the one who doesn't know what tomorrow brings. I have been you. I have been there. And I have learned so much, and I feel with my past experience and my current experience that I will be that candidate and that soon-to-be elected council member for the people of Schenectady. I want to be your voice. I want to close with something. Just a quote from Margaret Thatcher. In politics, if you want anything said, ask a man. If you want anything done, ask a woman. Again, my name is Teresa Mccalman, and I am endorsed by 1199 SEIU, and I'm on the Working Families, and I hope to have your vote.
The other candidate that was invited to attend this evening was Doreen De Toro. She was not able to attend, but she did send a statement. I will read it now. I am sorry I cannot attend tonight's forum, as I have a long-standing engagement to attend. I relocated to Schenectady in 1985, taking residence on the north side of Schenectady, and have lived in the Union Triangle for the past 32 years. I raised 3 amazing daughters who now, as adult women, call Schenectady their home. I have always been a woman of service and volunteer with many organizations within our city. I entered this race to leverage my long history of community service in Schenectady, as well as my successful career as a small businesswoman for the benefit of the city and its residents. I love this city, and as your councilwoman, I strongly believe that my experience and expertise will help continue the progress. In this year's election, you will have the opportunity to vote to fill a 2-year vacancy for the Schenectady City Council. I am one of those candidates, and you can find me in row A on the Democratic line. Your vote could mean the difference in creating the change you want. The city budget and property taxes, policing and public safety, and quality of life issues such as noise, traffic, littering, enforcement, just to name a few. Over the past several months, I have met so many wonderful people throughout the city, people who've shown me how passionate they feel and how deeply they care about the direction we are headed and how to fix it. I've learned what really matters most to our seniors, our children, our veterans whom have given so much. Despite all the progress this city has achieved, our message rings true that quality of life matters. My commitment to you is as follows. I will continue to work to keep taxes in check. I want to invest in additional senior centers in our neighborhood. I was the only Democratic candidate to present this issue, and I am proud to say that in this year's budget, the City Council has put in money for 3 neighborhood senior centers, which will be in Hamilton Hill, Bellevue, and Goose Hill. I will push for more money for youth opportunities and activities. I will focus on quality of life, continuing investments in infrastructure, parks, walkable streets. I will address abandoned properties. I will hold the mayor accountable, demanding better snow removal and fast pothole and street repairs. That's all the time we have for her statement. Now, we're going to get right into some questions. Are you all ready?
Yes.
All right. First question for Mr. Carl Williams. Since you are running for city council for the first time, why did you decide to run, and what strengths do you feel you bring to our government, to our governing body?
I've always understood throughout my entire life I've been afforded a certain level of privilege. That is being a service member in the United States of America. That is having the opportunity to receive and further my education for free. That is being able to be a homeowner in our community. And that is being able to develop relationships with local elected and also community members from a perspective of understanding but also impacting change within our community. With that, being a person of color, it is my responsibility to make sure that I not only open doors for myself, but also keep those doors open for individuals that look like me, and also for individuals in the next generation. This city of Schenectady cannot last based off of the impacts of our current city council members. Similar to what one of my mentors, Councilwoman Porterfield, alluded to, we need succession planning. And what that means is it requires a segment of our population to raise their hand and continue to do more with the efforts of inspiring others to contribute as well. So it's not necessarily that I felt the need to do more and run for city council. It is that I've been groomed throughout my entire life for this opportunity and beyond, based off of members throughout our community, such as a Walter Simpkins, such as Reverend Van Isaac Wayne Stewart, such as one of my military mentors, Chief Richardson, preparing me to continue to use this platform that I've had throughout my entire life for positive and good. So I look forward to having the opportunity to further use, hopefully, November 2nd, this platform. But I'm also confident that if this is not the option, because everything has a season, I'll know that in some way, shape, or fashion that I'll always impact change. And that's why I can wholeheartedly sit here and say that regardless of whatever happens, I will continue to be myself, and that I will use my God-given gifts to impact and influence change in a positive way.
Thank you. Teresa, same question. Since you are running for city council for the first time,
Yes.
why did you decide to run, and what strengths do you feel you bring to our governing body?
So this is my first time running for city council, but this is not my first time running for office. I have been fighting for my family since my first child, and I realized that fighting to give him and subsequently his 3 sisters a better life didn't mean only working on my family. It meant helping and supporting their friends and their families and my neighbors and my community. And like I said, with our opening statement, we went through a lot and settled in Schenectady. And Schenectady was very supportive, but it wasn't always easy. And I saw so many other people struggling. And I just kept asking why? And how can it be better? And if I see someone else coming up behind me, how can I help them, navigate those things? And I went through so many different iterations of being that help, serving, volunteering, being a mentor, being an advocate, and even working with nonprofits, trying to bring our youth back into the community. And it still was not enough. So I decided years ago that it's time to run for office and really be a part of the bigger change that will help the people even more. So I think that's my strength, always looking at the problem not as a problem, but how can it be fixed, and what solutions will be not just a temporary solve, but a permanent fix, and who can I bring in to help, and not just doing it by myself, but making sure that I'm not doing it just for myself or my family, that I'm doing it for everyone and everyone benefits. And I think those are definitely my strengths.
Thank you. Carl, what would you do to support the city's neighborhoods?
Supporting our city neighborhoods, similar to what County Legislator candidate Omar Mcgill referenced, is understanding our neighborhoods. I live in one segment of the city of Schenectady, and I wholeheartedly understand that, which is why it is important for individuals who run for public office, and this is me not calling out anyone. It requires us to be present so that we can develop an accurate understanding of what their needs and desires are, which is why it always needs to be an expectation, regardless of time constraints, to make the time to be present. I understand that regardless of the individual expectations that I'll have at my household with a new baby, at my job professionally to make sure I'm advancing for my family, that if I choose to step forward and raise my hand and be of service to the city, I need to make sure that I meet that on every facet of what that means. So developing those networks of relationships with our neighborhood association leaders, knocking on doors throughout the campaign process, but also after that, it requires us to have an accurate understanding of their needs. So what I believe our neighborhoods best need are individuals who, outside of the campaigning, recognize why they're asking for certain issues surrounding safety, noise ordinances, why our tenants and homeowners and small businesses, what their wants and needs are, and gathering those up and creating legislative policies that reflect the collective and are not restricted specifically to any individual community that is that marginalizes any other community in the city.
Thank you. Miss McCallum.
McCalman.
I'm gonna say Teresa.
Thank you.
Do you support lowering the citywide speed limit to 25 miles per hour?
Do I support lowering the citywide speed limit to 25 miles per hour? Yes.
You do. Why?
Yes. I live on a street that recently, not recently, probably in the last maybe 10 years, was repaved and widened. And because it was repaved and widened, no one's taking their time to drive the 30 miles per hour down the street because they don't risk the chance of hitting someone's car, but they still risk hitting someone's child. And it's not safe. I think residential roads, if 30 is not going to work, 25 definitely should be the speed limit. We need to be more cautious and careful of our youth, of our elderly, of anyone walking the streets. And if I have a few seconds for this, recently I was teaching my 17-year-old to drive.
Brave.
Yeah, well, I gave the job to her father because I couldn't do it anymore. But we were driving down Knott Street and were about to turn down Park, and a young man was crossing in the crosswalk. Now that's a really, really crazy intersection because cars are turning either on Seaward or Park, and it's really confusing. And I was showing her how to be aware of all of everything, and at 17, that's hard. So as I had to slow down, and a truck decided to speed around and hit the young man in the, And he wasn't obeying the speed limit, and he wasn't paying attention. He wasn't aware of the young man. Mind you, he survived. It was fine. The little boy survived. He just nicked him. But my daughter was terrified. And she said, if this is what it's like driving, I don't want to drive. She didn't want to drive on any of the other streets because of people zooming all over the place. I think 25 is definitely something that's safe and for all of us.
All right, thank you. Carl, same question. Do you support lowering the city speed limit to 25 miles per hour?
One thing that I've countlessly said throughout the campaign trail is law that is not enforceable is merely a suggestion. Sure, we can absolutely lower the speed limit to 20 miles an hour, which if that is what the community at large requests, me as an advocate for their interests would wholeheartedly support. But if we're trying to solve the issue of speeding throughout our city, I think we need to understand that regardless of what the speed limit is, if people are not adhering to what those laws and regulations are, there's no change that would support that. I think if we are trying to address the safety of our pedestrians, then it may include looking at other aspects of that question. Maybe we might need to enact some educational perspectives to have people understand that although you might not have a child, you are then responsible for the livelihood of other children in the city. And I think that it might require some thoughtful conversations at the neighborhood level to, outside of signage, have thoughtful discussions with what are we truly trying to achieve within our city. That is why throughout my campaign I've said together we are Schenectady, because regardless of where we are individually in our households, we each can impact all of us in a positive or negative way. And I think it's our responsibility as individuals to make sure that our actions reflect the best interests of the city, which is easier said than done, but sometimes it takes someone to challenge the groupthink just to see if there's something better that we can do. And I'm never afraid to raise my hand and say something that might be contrary to everyone's opinion, with the expectation of making sure that we are researching every possible option before making our decisions.
Thank you. Teresa, what would you do to support the city's neighborhoods?
What would I do to support the city's
neighborhoods?
It's a broad question.
Yes.
I'm going to try to bring it down. I think that it's not a me question. It's an us question. How can we work together to support our neighborhoods? And that's how I'm going to go into this. It's not what I want to do and what I think should be done. I think it's more speaking to my neighbors and others across the city and asking them, what do we need? What is best for us? And how can we make sure that that is heard in our government and our local government? So it's not what I can do for the neighborhoods. I think it's what we can do together, and I think we can do a lot.
Okay, thank you. So Teresa, I'm gonna give you the first question here. I'm gonna let you answer first before Carl. I've been going there, but now I'm gonna go here. Is that okay?
Yes, that's
All right.
fine, I think.
You think? Do you support the recommendations of the Police Reform Collaborative? What other recommendations would you make on the police department's operations?
So this is all of the recommendations. And what other recommendations would I make?
Do you support the Police Reform Collaborative? And what other recommendations would you make on the police department's operations?
This is a yes and no. We have work to do. Okay. There are some recommendations that I do support, but I feel that it needs work. I understand that we have some community members and we have police representatives who have been working on these things, but I think that we can do better at being more inclusive with our community voices. And like I said again, I don't really like the I statements. What can I do? What do I think? I would prefer to say, what is my community? What does the city think? What do they recommend? I have yet to fill up those recommendations. There's a lot out there of people complaining about what is being done and what's not being done. So I think what I would rather do is have a community conversation, and then we can all settle together on exactly what is best for us and how we can move forward.
Okay, thank you. Carl, do you support the recommendations of the Police Reform Collaborative, and what other recommendations would you make on police department operations?
So as an active member of the Police Collaborative, I support the recommendations that were presented as a first step. What has constantly been said is that these are it was a platform that would be used to ensure that these discussions do not end after the recommendations were provided, but would also yield further discussions that would continue this conversation on beyond that. However, I do hear from our community, and their expectations are still the same. We need to see that change in our community. So regardless of what we are able to achieve in our recommendations, if people do not feel that change in their households, do we really do anything? Which is why I understand the importance of us recognizing that this does not end right here. These conversations need to persist so that we do continue to strive to be the best version of ourselves. So one of the recommendations that I would have beyond what was already supplied is having current event discussions. Frequently, some of the issues that affect communities of color, but also communities at large, happen outside of our city of Schenectady. And for better or worse, our law enforcement community is responsible for accommodating people's altered perspectives. Just because something doesn't happen geographically in Schenectady doesn't mean it didn't happen to someone physically. And that is an understanding that we need to incorporate into all of our facets of local government. Now, what we can actively do is address those pointedly in an objective manner to make sure that our city is prepared to accommodate some of those situations that have happened outside, and actively prepare our city and understand and teach people that we are actively making sure that our policies reflect the best interests of our citizens, and that we don't need to wait and respond retroactively to something.
Thank you. Carl, I'm going to give you the next question. All council members are currently elected on an at-large basis. Do you think there should be some district representation on the council?
I believe if that question is based on a pretense of how do we ensure that each community in our city is heard and represented, I 100% believe that we should research the policies of districting. However, if we are looking at ensuring that communities are each heard and having forced volunteerism, I don't agree with that. I think running for elected office requires an individual to raise their hand free of any requirement. And although sometimes it may seem like members of a certain neighborhood are overly representing, I think it is then their responsibility to ensure that they are building a diverse understanding of other areas of the community to make sure that their policies reflect the entire city. But I also recognize that there are other cities in the Capital District that have districting. And that is why I would love to have the opportunity to go to those different cities and see if this has been a beneficial tool for them. And that is why I will always use the time that I have to look outside of our understandings to look at and evaluate whether these interests would meet what our city wants and needs for its residents.
Thank you. Teresa, all council members are currently elected on an at-large basis. Do you think there should be some district representation on the council?
So this is a pro and a con question. There are definitely benefits to having at-large. I mean, this is the system we've had for some years now. But I have worked with others in other cities, with other elected officials that, especially in Albany, with ward leaders, and I've seen the benefit of having certain districts portioned out for with specific representation. And it's good. It does. It helps. It works. You have someone who can concentrate more on that area and really fight and concentrate. And I think that's what Mr. Williams was alluding to, that it takes off the shackles and, that restriction. But then you run the risk of having some infighting and unnecessary issues with other ward leaders over funding. You also run the risk of having one district I don't want to say represented, but I'm going to say it, represented better than other districts. Currently, as it stands, I think, even though it's a challenge to have at large, that I think it works for the city of Schenectady right now. Can it change in the future? Definitely. We need to find a way to make sure that what's going on in Goose Hill and however they're being benefited definitely happens in the Stockade area and Upper Union and over in Hamilton Hill. We need to make sure that all of our districts are being represented equally. And I think the at-large right now works currently until we make sure that we understand that the needs of every district, every neighborhood is not the same, but we can still address them on an equitable level.
Thank you. Carl, what has been your prior community and political involvement?
My prior community involvement has been chairing a committee on the NAACP that I've recently stepped down from due to me running in for elected office. I currently sit as the acting chair on the Civilian Police Review Board, and I also sit as a member on the Police Hiring Advisory Board, or Police Hiring Advisory Panel. The reason why I've been selective on posting those involvements throughout my campaign literature is from the fear of politicizing those community organizations. But similar to my earlier comment, I've understood the importance of not preparing myself, but being prepared from day one. And that is something that I can confidently say that I've been doing well before this opportunity presented itself. I was in no way, shape, or form waiting for this opportunity to become available, and that is why I sit here based on the experience that I've had over the last 1.5 to 2 years to say that regardless of my stumbles here at the mic, I know that I've developed an understanding of how to be on a board, an understanding of how to enact change, an understanding of how to work through conflict that I hope to bring to the council.
Thank you. Teresa, what has been your prior community and political involvement?
We have a short time, right? Because it's been a lot, so I'll try to be as succinct as possible. I have been on, in regards to boards, I have been on the character for the Board for Character Education, board with Russell Sage College. I have also been on the organizing board for the Underground Railroad History Project of the Capital Region in Albany at the Stephen and Harriet Myers residence for over 5 years, working to bring that history to life and also bring our youth into that history and understand how it connects with them currently. I have also been on a PTA, of course, because I'm a parent and I'm uber involved always, to the chagrin of my children. I have been president of Native American Daughters in Education. I've also worked as a youth advocate. I've worked extensively in Schenectady County Community College, one of my alma maters, as a senator, as a student volunteer, as a student advocate. I have also worked with Clarkson University, one of my also my alma mater when it was Union College, working with other teacher students in organizing. And let me see what else. Oh my gosh, I've done so much. I can't remember everything, but I have always been involved in the community. And just quickly, I was asked this question when I ran for mayor, and
30 seconds.
I couldn't remember like when my community advocacy began, but then I recalled that when I met the first black man to ever be elected as mayor in New York City, I remember then is when my service mind really blossomed back in the 80s. I won't tell you how old I am, but yeah, and that was why I've always been and continue to be active in the community. And I'm sorry, I can't remember everything.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you both for your thoughtful comments. Now you both have 2 minutes, closing statement. Please talk directly to the voters. We'll start with Carl.
So I don't just sit here as an individual, I sit here as a representative of a slate of candidates that I'm confidently to have been running with for the past few months. I stand here lockstep with Councilman Mudavarian, with Councilwoman Porterfield, and with Councilman-elect Farley, in stating that we represent the future of Schenectady City Council. As I caught myself wondering a little bit throughout the questioning, I couldn't help but think about everything that got me to this moment. And I look at each and every mistake that I've made throughout my life, and I understand that if I would have changed any one of those decisions, that it might have altered the trajectory that got me here. I understand the importance of making mistakes, and that is why I will never look and judge anyone based on any mistake you've made. It requires us as individuals to look beyond those mistakes and to challenge us to continue to be more and greater than where we currently are. And that is why whenever anyone has an opinion, has any feedback, has anything to say, it is my responsibility to see past your current position and also challenge you to be the best version of yourself, because that is how we will be the best city of Schenectady we can possibly be. I usually am super profound and I try to get the deepest meaning in anything. But I love this. I love that our city has given the voters a plethora of opinions and options to vote from. And I'm sitting here twirling my wedding band and trying to find the energy to keep me moving through this process, because there have been some dark days. But I understand that the investments that were made unto me, it is my responsibility to do everything in my power to get to that next stage. So for the sake of rambling, I love this city. I selfishly appreciate each moment I've had to spend on each doorstep. If anything else, I'm sitting here looking at Prince Sprav and the relationships that I've built over these last few months have not only helped inspire me as a young man, but they have helped evolve my understanding of why I love the city of Schenectady and why beyond November 2nd I will continue to be an active contributor to this community.
Thank you. Teresa?
I want to start by saying that yes, I am running for the 2-year open seat, but Carl and I are running for the 2 open seats. So I'm not technically running against Carl Williams or any of the other progressive candidates on the ballot. And I want to make that clear because a few people have emailed me, called me, messaged me, texted me, knocked on my door and asked because they were really torn. I've had their support in the past few elections, and they definitely want to support these amazing progressive candidates, John, Marian, Damani, and Carl. And I encourage that. I also encourage you to vote for me. So I'll just read my closing statement, but I just want to make sure to clarify that I am not running against any of the other progressive candidates. Carl and I are both running for 2 open seats. As a woman who strives to lead with truth and love, and as a Black woman and an Indigenous woman and a language keeper of my Indigenous people, and as an American woman, I want to leave you with some words of wisdom and love, especially as an up-and-coming elder, and these words come from my heart and from my people. Everything we do it for peace. We do it for our children. We do it for our families, and most importantly, for Istinba. Istinba means for the women. Because without women, there would be no us. We wouldn't have the Articles of Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Thank you, Eleanor. We wouldn't have unity in South Africa. Thank you, Winnie. We wouldn't have nationwide free lunch programs. Thank you to all the beautiful women of the Black Panther Party. We wouldn't have words of wisdom. Thank you, Dr. Maya Angelou, Angela Davis, Zora Neale Hurston, and many more. Thank you, because without women like Shirley Chisholm and Kamala Harris, I would not be able to run. So everything I do will be Istinba. Everything I do will be for the women, the children, the men, everyone in our community, because it will be for all of us. And I hope to have your vote November 2nd.
I'd like to thank all of the candidates who came out this evening. A special thanks to the Schenectady branch of the NAACP. Thank you for tuning in to this segment of 2021 Election Vote Candidate Forum. I'm your moderator, Livonia Mallory, and go out and vote.